Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts. Norman Wolfe, welcome to the conversation today.
John, thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a real pleasure to be with you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm just across the river from Portland, Oregon, in Southwest Washington, Vancouver, Washington.
I love Vancouver and Portland. I grew up in Salem, Oregon. So
Okay.
that's my neck of the woods. But now I'm joining this conversation from south of Salt Lake City in Utah. But I
Okay.
love the Pacific Northwest. I love to get back there anytime I have the chance.
I can
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, beautiful place, beautiful place. Well, I'm excited to sit down with you today. Today, we're going to be talking about your book, The Living Organization, Transforming Business to Create Extraordinary Results. As we get started, I wanted to share Norman's bio with everybody. Norman is founder and CEO of Quantum Leaders, a strategy execution consulting company. He is a recognized expert in changing the way businesses work to more effectively and rapidly execute strategy. And we need more of that today, more than ever. We need agile organizations. We need strategic organizations. Just yesterday, I was in a meeting where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, where's the strategy here? It's absent. We need more of it. Thank you for sitting down with me today. Norman, is there anything you would like to share with the audience before we get started?
No, I think we can just jump into it. I agree with you. And what I will say is, as we talk about it, I want the audience to recognize that this is not a new set of tools or methodology. It's a change in perspective of what an organization actually is. It's
Mm,
it's to address the reality that, as you say, companies are very poor at getting from point A to point B. They have a vision, they know where they want to go, but how do they navigate the journey from here to there? And a key part of it is what I call paradigm shifting. The old paradigm of an organization as a machine
mm,
where it's a black box. It takes inputs and produces outputs, and the role of leaders is to optimize how that box works. And
hmm
people are component parts of that box. And that works in some environments very well. It worked back in the 1900s when it was first created. It's a good way to think about a challenge of a complex system, but it doesn't work today because, as you said, it's not agile, it's not resilient, it's not responsive, it's not creative. It puts a lot of pressure on the leader to make all the key decisions, or the executive team, if you want. It's just not working. And so we have to get out of that paradigm and into a new paradigm, and that's what the Living Organization is all about. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to share it with you and your audience.
Yeah, amen to all of that. And um, so yeah, let's get into it. I'm just nodding my head as you're saying those things, and I'm also thinking, oh my goodness, both as a leader, how freeing it is when you have this paradigm shift, right? To now rely on and empower those around you. But also as, part of the team, how vital it is, how important it is to be involved and included that way, and how, demotivating it is and how discouraging it is when you're not involved that way. Regardless of the intention of the leader, like,
Exactly right.
I don't think most leaders are sitting around thinking, how am I going to hoard power and, and not be transparent and keep people away from decision making. Like I don't think most people are like thinking that,
No,
yet yet that's often kind of how it ends up getting perceived, or at least it feels that way, right?
yeah.
And regardless of the intent, it's just not effective. And so we can do better than that, right?
Yeah, and it starts with, like you said, John, the intent of leaders is not to be bad bosses.
Yeah.
Then they're trained from the beginning. They're responsible for making sure the organization produces the results required for continual sustained growth. That's what leaders are charged with.
Yeah.
It's how they've been trained to achieve that and how they think about going about achieving it and what their role in that is where the problem has lied. And it shows up in a really interesting way. Think about the consulting world. You've got business consultants and you've got OD consultants.
Hmm.
They're separate worlds,
Yeah,
which means we've defined them as separate problems. The bifurcation is one of the reasons strategies fail. We don't know where to apply resources. We don't know how to integrate the two worlds into one world, and that's what we did with the living organization. We recognize that the people are they're not stakeholders of a corporation. They are the
they
corporation. They
are.
are the
Yeah.
entity, right? They're the living cells of this living entity. In the old way, they're just component parts. You go to the big box store called Indeed, and you go out the engineering aisle and you buy your engineers, and you got your spec sheet you're looking for, and we call them job descriptions, and we're just following a very mechanical view of an organization instead of recognizing we want to establish the creative talents, the excitement. And like you said, when you get the people to be able to do things, it frees up the leader. It takes a burden off of them. I don't know why they don't want to do that. Well, I do know why. They don't know how to do it. It's scary. They don't know what,
It's scary. They don't know how. It's
they don't know
scary.
how. It's
The
scary.
the sense of like loss of control,
Loss
even
of
though
control.
control's a facade,
That's right.
right?
And so, and I'm happy to get into the details, but the living organization framework is designed to help them understand how to think about the organization differently, and then how to lead differently and what skills they need, and then how to use the tools they're already familiar with to actually apply those principles and the leadership skills to actually make those tools work the way they're intended to work. So simply put, the framework has three parts: a new way to see, that's understanding that's the shift in the paradigm;
Paradigm, yeah.
a new way to lead, that's the new role of leadership and the skills associated with it; and then a new way to create results, how to put all that together to actually get from point A to point B effectively and be part of that 30% that's successful instead of the 70% that constantly fails.
Can I ask you? So, I'm fully on board. You don't need to
Thank you.
convince me, right? Um, so I'm a professor. So I do consulting on the side, but I'm a professor. I'm a department chair. So I'm like a middle manager, right? In my university. And so I buy into all of this, right? And I try to lead my department this way.
Right,
But I'm within a context. I work within constraints, and I have a dean's office, I have a provost's office, I have the university system that I work within. And other leaders may not share this mindset. They may not share this approach. Or let's say I have a dean that does, but then they are working with a provost's office that doesn't. Right. Or let's get out of academia. Let's go into corporate and you oftentimes you'll have a leader
that's right.
who buys into this, right? And they understand it and they have the tools, they have the skill to be able to do
Mhm.
it, but they're one piece of a bigger machine of organization. How would you suggest, that someone start to, within their sphere of influence, start to implement and then start to influence outwardly?
You're bringing me down from rather than going top down to bottom up. I'm going to go bottom up to top down in terms of how we get there. So first thing we help leaders understand is they are the CEO of whatever entity they're running, right? So that's part of the mindset shift. You're not an employee, you are the CEO of your own company. So think about it from that perspective. Every company operates within constraints,
Yeah.
whether that constraint is covenants with your bank, that's a constraint, whether that constraint is dealing with regulators, or whether that constraint is dealing with uh, legal owners of the company, the shareholders or board of directors. Everybody has. So, if as a CEO, what we teach leaders to think about is who is your ecosystem?
Mm-hmm.
Who are your suppliers? Who are your partners? Who are you supporting? Who are your customers? And who are your stakeholders? The stakeholders are all those people that constrain you. Now, from an ecosystem point of view, you get what you want if you give your stakeholders what they want. So it starts instead of thinking about them as a problem you have to go fix or somebody that's stopping you, you want to think about how, as a CEO of my company, going to help, how do I have to work with these people in the ecosystem so that we all win? So
Mm-hmm.
shift your focus from how do I change them to how do I understand them so I can get them on my team? And it's just a different problem set. It's the same challenge, but it's viewed through it. It's the old saying, the way you ask the question is the way you get the answers.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would begin to address that particular challenge is shift your paradigm. Think of yourself as the CEO of the company. Map out your ecosystem, which is one of the trainings we put people through, one of the tools we have, and start addressing your ecosystem for maximization of the whole, so that you win because they're winning.
Yeah. I like that. And again, if you're considering yourself the CEO of your organization, right? Regardless of where you're at in
Wherever you
the
are, doesn't matter.
hierarchy, focus on what you control, your
That's
sphere of
right.
influence, your locus of control. It's important because sometimes, you can get bogged down in, feeling like you're beating your head against a brick wall, trying to change things that are outside of your control, outside of your influence. And ration your energy. I mean, like focus on things that you actually can do. And
And
and that doesn't mean that you can't over time try to extend your influence and that you can't try to manage up and that you can't, those are also things that you can do. But like you said, focus on what you can control, change your mindset, change your paradigm, and then over time, actually that can dramatically shift the amount of
it will
influence
dramatically. I'll give you
that
a
you
very
can.
concrete, specific example.
Yeah.
I have a client here locally. It's in the distribution business, and it is a subsidiary of one of the major Japanese
Hmm.
corporations. Its history as a subsidiary has really been more of a Chinese wall, so to speak, where they stay on their side and the company operates on its own, and it just feeds dividends back to the shareholder.
Hmm.
And I came in and I was working with the CEO, and he was complaining almost about the same thing. They constrain us, they don't understand us, they don't give us the resources, we got to run through hoops, and they're always, they're more pain than they're worth. And I said, that's a lousy attitude to have. I said, you've got the access to a major corporation that has some major influences around the world, and you're keeping them at a distance. Why are you doing that? Began to reframe his context, his paradigm, his thinking, and help him see them as a partner.
Hmm.
And it wasn't only him, we had to change everybody in the organization, how they related to this entity, this stakeholder, this pain in the butt that always causes us problems, that constrains us from being able to grow. And I said, you're the ones that are constraining yourselves. So after a 2-year period of helping them reformulate, and they had a wonderful opportunity because the Japanese companies are notorious for shifting the oversight board, their board of directors, basically, every 2, 3 years. So they were bringing in a new board. And I said, there you go. Remember, this is a relationship game. It's not a transaction game. And it's up to you to onboard these board members from the get-go, to bring them on your side, to help them understand what you offer them. And if they help you in these ways, you can give them more. And
Hmm.
he told me the other day, he just had a board meeting and he says, it's unbelievable. The whole board is focused on growing us instead of looking at the past and what we've done and asking us a whole bunch of questions about the past. They're only concerned about how are we making progress towards the future? He said, it's a different world I live in. That's what you can do. That's what a dean can do with a provost. If they just
Yeah.
get on the same page and work together. And if the dean learned how to manage relationships, see, that's one of those skills that leaders don't know how to do. I mean, they're good at relationship, but they don't really understand how to manage those relationships outside of their domain of influence. Well, it's a skill, and we help teach that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And yeah, maybe they were a complete pain in the butt to work with, right? Like
That's
like
right.
that total both things can be true. Like
That's right.
they totally could be a pain in the butt to work with, but also it's a tremendous opportunity at the same
That's
time.
exactly right.
So
Exactly
so
right.
you recognize take a moment to like allow yourself to complain a little bit and then get past it and then like now like let's move forward in a productive way, right?
Exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And it's so much. And the reason we talk about being the CEO of your own domain is because when you're a CEO of a company, one of the things you learn is the buck stops here. It's up to
Uh-huh.
me to learn how to manage my stakeholders. It's up to me. I don't get to blame anybody. I don't get to blame my stakeholders for my lack of success. At the end of the day, I'm either going to be successful or not. So what are all the pieces I have to manage to do that? and complaining about it, it's great as a trigger to take action. It's
Mm.
not really good as an excuse for why you can't get what you want.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
Thank you.
good. Okay, so, as we're thinking about your framework, we're thinking about being the CEO of our own business, of our own organization. We're thinking about trying to manage up, manage out, extend our influence. What are some other key elements of this living organization?
Wow. We got a couple of hours. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
So I guess there's three things. One is, what are the core principles behind it? And it starts with the number one principle that I mentioned earlier. Leaders, their primary responsibility has been, is, and always will be to ensure the results necessary for sustained growth. Results is really just a plain truth of physics. Producing an output from an input is a journey of transforming energy.
Mm,
And it change something from one thing to another. That's a thing of energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. So you want to ask the question, what is converting energy? And that's where the paradigm shift happens. If it's a machine, then really all you care about is optimizing the process of how the machine works, what we call the activity. If a human is in place, and you ask how does a person, an individual, create results, then there's three factors associated. It's with the activity, optimizing how they do what they do. But relationships is a really critical part. We just talked about some of the implications of that. The other thing that makes individuals really unique is we create realities through our narratives, our stories. You use
mm,
the word context. If I'm in this context, what that context really is, this framework of how we respond to life. It's the rules of the
hmm
game that we're asked to follow.
hmm
And it's not only externally driven, like you're in the context of a university, it's internally driven. It's what your core beliefs are. How do you think the world it operates and how you should respond to it? We call it the psychic DNA. And it's your sense of who you are and your sense of identity. By understanding this threefold element of activity, relationship, and context, and recognizing that a collective of people that come together for a common purpose actually creates a new single individual, then you want to apply the principles of individual performance to that collective. And so you're managing from a different perspective. Uh, we already talked about every living entity operates within an ecosystem. So you want to manage the ecosystem. Um, you also want to, so the other principle is that the capacity to execute is not just the capability, that's the machine's aspect of it, but it's the capability plus maturity. That's the human aspect of it. The more mature we are, the more you can delegate to me. In fact, one of the key, if I ask a leader, name the things that are important when you think of moving somebody from one level of responsibility to the next, what are you looking for? And invariably, they'll talk about things that are attributed to what we consider the elements of maturity. Things like, can they see the big picture? Can they learn from their mistakes? Can they make decisions for the good of the whole over themselves? This is what happens when a person matures. This is what happens when an organization matures. And the very thing you said at the beginning, if you get people to take ownership for the good of the whole, you're actually freeing up the leader's time, right? And you're getting organizations that move rapidly to whatever situations as a collective. Um, so those are the core principles. And then, of course, maturing people becomes an element of it. And we recognize that to engage people, to fully engage them, they have to want to do what they're doing, which means you have to give them choice. So those are the
Right.
seven core principles that we talk about. That's the shift in paradigm. And it's all geared towards that's what it takes to have an organization create results. So that's what the leader should be thinking about. And then the second part is the leadership skills themselves, changing the role from plan, organize, lead, and control to setting that context so people know what game they're playing, developing the people, capability and maturity individually and collectively. Recognizing that the internal organization is itself an ecosystem, so building a community, not just a bunch of teams and silos, but
Mm,
build a community and being of service, delivering on what you say, taking care of your customers, taking care of your suppliers, taking care of the living entity you're responsible for, nurturing it, cultivating it. So it's from plan, organize, lead, and control to set context, develop people, build community, and be of service. Changing role of leader. And the key change is shifting from shifting from a problem solver
Mm,
fixing things to a person who can sense and adjust underlying patterns.
interesting. Yeah.
Part of my career was with HP, and one of the early things we learned was management by wandering around. And
Mm,
management by wandering around was really tune up your antenna to sense what's going on under the surface of what you see so that you can adjust so you know what the reports are going to say before the reports even come out and you can adjust things accordingly and so that's the shift in the role of leader and then, now that you got those, use the tools, but use them differently. Don't just build a mission, vision, value statement. We call it a strategic compass, where you have a deep sense of purpose of why this organization exists, so that people who join it and operate within it know why they're doing what they're doing. And have a strong impact statement, a narrative, a story about how you impacted your marketplace, how you impacted those that you serve. How's the world different 5 years from now because you exist? And then we talk about character, not just values, but character. What does this living entity stand for? And how you're going to deliver all that? We call that the mission. So we take the tools like mission, vision, values, and deepen it, make it applicable for a dynamic human social system, not just a machine of this is what the machine is designed to do. So that's the living organization framework in its three component parts.
I love the character piece. I just love the idea of deepening those other
Yes,
pieces that people have always been doing. I mean,
yes,
for forever, people sit
yes,
down and they have these sessions where they wordsmith these mission statements and value statements. But oftentimes they get put on the wall or on the website, and they're not really integrated. They're not really deeply, lived within the organization. But deepening them, making them really a part of the day to day of the organization and the character of the organization
absolutely.
is so important.
It is
And seeing everything that you're saying and implicit in the whole idea of a living organization is just the innate value of the people within the organization, right? Like you just have a very different mindset
very
around
different mindset.
the humans within the organization than kind of this old frame of what an organization is, why it exists, and how it's going to be successful. And I love all of that. And I just think in this modern age, the current world of work, a knowledge economy, all of this requires this kind of a mindset.
Right. It does. That's why I mean this has become my calling, my dharma, my life's passion, my uh, this is what I'm going to do until I can't do it anymore. Is to expand this and literally transition the world of business to a new paradigm that enhances and supports the dignity of that human spirit that is so important to its success. I'll add one more thing before I'm sure we're getting close to wrapping up. The key role of a leader is, as I said, to develop people. And in today's paradigm and today's way of thinking, we look at leaders focus on how do I get better performance out of my people. So we use the people to get results, and that's pretty well accepted. In our paradigm, we shift that just a little, but very significantly. We say getting results is our focus, but the results actually creates the challenge that serves as the catalyst for developing people.
Mm,
As we develop the people, both capability and maturity, so we're developing the whole human being, we increase the capacity to achieve the goals, and it becomes a virtuous cycle where it builds on its other spirals and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and so the organization grows organically and naturally with an constantly expanding capability set, capacity set. We go from using people to create results to using results as the vehicle for for developing the people. And that's how we integrate the hard side and soft side that I mentioned earlier was bifurcated. It becomes one journey together. They're not two separate things. So CEOs don't have to decide, do I put money in business? Do I put money in OD? Where do I go? It's two
yeah.
heads of one coin and just manage the coin.
Yeah, yeah, love it. Norman, this has just been a great conversation. As you
Thank you.
said, we got to note the time. I need to let you go here in a minute. But
Yes,
before we wrap things up, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more
great.
about your work, where they can find your book, and then give us the final word for today.
So Nwolfe, Nwolfe at quantumleaders.com. The website is quantumleaders.com. And I have for your audience put on Quantum Leaders / podcast, and they'll get the first three chapters of the book for free. So that's a gift for those who are interested. And a word for today, shift the paradigm.
Shift the paradigm. Well said. Norman, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I
John,
encourage the
John, thank
audience
you for having me. It's really been a pleasure.
I encourage the audience to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Norman can do for you. Check out the book. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.